Hi, my name is Evie March and I'm a student studying psychological science at the University of New England. Today I'm going to talk to you about specific behaviour modification techniques that you can use to decrease your child's temper tantrums. The first step is to define their target behaviour. This is because the general label temper tantrums can mean different things to different people, as not all tantrums are the same. So what you have to do is ask yourself, what does my child say and do when presenting a tantrum? These could be things such as hitting, kicking, screaming, crying, or throwing things across the room. The next step is to record your child's tantrums for about a week or so to determine the possible causes and consequences of the behaviour. These causes, also known as antecedents, are vital to determining what triggers the behaviour, what triggers the tantrum. More importantly, the consequences, what happens after the behaviour, is really important to determining what reinforces the behaviour. So once you have done that, it is time to start implementing a procedure to decrease your target behaviour. Most parents punish their child when presenting undesirable behaviours, such as taking away a toy or putting them in timeout. However, punishment is actually the least effective way to deal with undesirable behaviours, especially with child tantrums. The most effective way to deal with undesirable behaviours in children is to use a method called reinforcement. Reinforcement can come in many forms: positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, and differential reinforcement. So positive reinforcement is the process of providing a reinforcing stimulus to increase the likelihood of that behaviour to keep happening, to reinforce that behaviour. However, you have to be very careful with when you provide a reinforcer to your child, because you may be unintentionally reinforcing the wrong behaviour and making that behaviour more likely to occur in the future. So for example, if you're at the supermarket with your child and they ask you for a chocolate and you say no, they might start crying and screaming and putting on a show. Some people might be staring at you and you begin to feel embarrassed, so you just give your child the chocolate to get rid of the embarrassment and get rid of the tantrum. What you don't realise is that you may have stopped that tantrum then and there, but you've actually just reinforced their tantrum and made it more likely for that tantrum to occur again. This is because your child learns that, hey, when I scream and cry, I can get a chocolate. So then they learn that they've got some amount of control over you and they use that to their advantage. The same applies to negative reinforcement, which involves the removal of an undesirable stimulus to make a desirable behaviour more likely to occur. So this could be telling your child that they don't have to do their chores tomorrow if they eat their dinner. An effective procedure that I'm going to talk to you about today is called differential reinforcement. Now this is where you reinforce the desirable behaviours but remove any type of reinforcement with undesirable behaviours just by completely ignoring them. So this procedure is extremely effective with child temper tantrums because children usually have tantrums to get something that they want, which is often your attention. So if your child's crying at night time and you go give them a kiss and a cuddle, you're actually giving them what they want and reinforcing the behaviour and making them more likely to cry every night. So to implement differential reinforcement, the most important thing you have to remember is to completely ignore them until the tantrum has stopped. The act of completely and suddenly removing a reinforcer that was once always used in the past is known as extinction. So the tricky thing with extinction is that the tantrums are more likely to actually increase in duration and intensity to begin with. This is because the child is frustrated and confused that why am I not getting what I want when I was always getting what I want in the past? So The thing to remember is that you've just got to persevere and push through it, because it's only for a little while. It's been proven that with the use of extinction, tantrums usually will increase in duration and intensity and will hit a peak, but once the child realizes that their tantrums aren't effective anymore, they will gradually start to drop off and get less and less intense and shorter in duration. So it will be worth it in the long run. So you've just got to stick through it, even when they're getting worse, because you know they will get better. So the complete removal of any reinforcer through extinction is one part of differential reinforcement, but the other part is actually reinforcing the desirable behaviours. So obviously the desirable behaviour is not throwing tantrums, behaving well, being a good kid. So throughout the day, when your child is behaving well, you can reinforce them with any kind of reinforcer. This depends on their age, but just make sure that you include your child in the intervention and let them choose their reinforcer. So you can think about what your child likes, what you think would be effective in reinforcing good behaviour. So they might enjoy reading books or sitting down and playing, or you could maybe use a sticker chart. It just depends how old they are and what they like. So make sure you include them in the intervention. That's very, very important. You can use a continuous schedule of reinforcement, which is where you deliver your child with a reinforcer after every instance of good behaviour or every instance of not having a tantrum. You can do this until your child has learnt the good behaviour of what is expected of them. And once that happens and the tantrums start to decrease, you can use an intermittent schedule of reinforcement where you only reinforce the positive, desirable behaviour of not having a tantrum every so often, periodically and randomly. This is to ensure that your child does not rely on the reinforcer to behave well, and eventually you can gradually decrease the reinforcer less and less, and hopefully, and in the long run, they should be presenting a lot less tantrums and won't be as reliant on reinforcers. So that's it from me today. I hope this video has been helpful, and I hope your child's tantrums decrease or disappear altogether with the use of some of these behaviour modification techniques. Thanks for watching. Bye.